Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today we're going to talk about my favorite Bible from every major publisher. Now, before we dive into this, I want to define what a major publisher is. Number one, they are stewards of their own translation. In other words, a translation is something that they own and that they publish. I'm going to include some others just so you can see them, and I do like them, but I'm not going to put them in the same category. Another thing is they have to have multiple editions of the particular translation of which they are stewards. So let's go ahead and start off with Thomas Nelson. And you all know exactly where this is going to go. I absolutely love this rebind. This was put together by King of King Rebinds, did an amazing job with this rebind. Love everything about this Bible. Love the goffered edges. Love the large print. For the sake of time, I'll go ahead and put the font size for each Bible on the bottom of the screen for you conveniently so you can check that out. But this is a beautiful double column layout, paragraph format, references on the bottom, 36 GSM paper. Really has everything you could possibly want in a Bible. And one thing that sets this apart that I really love over other Thomas Nelson editions is that it has the words of Christ in blue. So this is absolutely beautiful. It is my favorite overall Bible and definitely my favorite Bible from Thomas Nelson. Now let's move into Lockman. Lockman, this is the NASB 1995 LPUT. LPUT simply means large print, ultra thin. So you're going to get a large print, a thin Bible. So this is going to have thinner paper. This has that beautiful, nice large print, font on the bottom of the screen here for you. References and notes in the middle. Absolutely love the layout, just beautifully done. Everything about this Bible screams epic, and this was rebound by JV Bibles, does amazing work. That navy pull-up Badalassi. So this is somewhat of a rebind flex as well, because if you know if I love these Bibles, I'm going to have them rebound. From Tyndale. Now this one is out of print. I almost didn't include it, but it is my favorite layout from Tyndale, and that is the NLT Select. My preference is a double column, but when you're doing a single column, this is really the way to do it in that personal size, decent size font. Just love the poetic settings. I do wish they would have centered them, but one reason I like this is because those references are on the outside column here, and then they put the footnotes on the bottom of the page. Really beautifully laid out, words of Christ in black, the NLT Select. You can actually sort of get this layout still. It's the NLT Filament, the original one. I'll put that link in the video description just in case you're hunting something similar to that. The only difference is it doesn't have your references on the outside column. It functions a little bit more like a wide margin, but beautiful. Now let's go to Crossway. And Crossway, it was a toss-up between this and the Omega. I gave this the lean because the Omega has those corner references, and I'm just not a huge fan of corner references, although the next Bible that I'm going to show you is going to have corner references. This is in that personal size, nice large font, really nice leading space. And leading space, in case you don't know, is the space between the lines. See how it's got a little bit of space there? It's almost like double spaced. It's probably space and a half. Textual footnotes on the bottom, not a whole lot when it comes to references, but this just really does a nice job. And I also like the way it handles the poetry. It's sort of center justified, but it looks very poetic, and it also masks that ghosting really well. This was actually the more economic edition in the True Tone. They actually do have one with goatskin leather as well. I like this one because the paper is just a little bit thicker, and I prefer thicker paper, not necessarily always from a ghosting standpoint, but from a grip standpoint, because I like to be able to grip a single page, and sometimes that 28 GSM paper, it can be a little bit difficult to grip a single page. But this is a beautiful layout, the ESV Heritage. Now let's go with Holman. And Holman, this was a tough decision because I really like their single column personal size, but there is something about this layout, even though I don't like those corner references. And here's why I don't like the corner references. Corner references make your columns uneven. So this column ends here, and this column ends more toward the bottom of the page. And you're going to have that on every single page, sometimes more so than others because some pages have less references and some pages have much more references. But they have those notes on the bottom, nice large font. And I love the red accents, just everything about this. I actually have 2 copies of this block. I like it so much. And when you get to the New Testament, the words of Christ are in black. Really nice. One thing I love about the CSB that they do is whenever the Old Testament is being quoted, they will put it in bold. So you don't have to wonder what's going on there. You absolutely know that is the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, they always cross-reference those. Even if it's not a referencing Bible, you're going to get it at the bottom of the page or somewhere in the footnotes. They'll let you know where in the Old Testament that particular verse is referencing. I always think that's pretty cool. Now, these two I'm going to put in a little bit of a separate category because Zondervan actually is not behind the translation of the NIV. Biblica is. But Biblica gives Zondervan exclusive rights in the United States to print, layout, and sell the NIV. There are some other publishers that can get rights from Zondervan to print it, but ultimately they are the primary stewards of this translation, even though they weren't behind it. So I put them in a little bit of a different category of these others. But this is a beautiful text block. Really nice gutter space there. I love that they give you not only the references and notes on the outside column, but they also give you a little bit of margin space, beautiful blue accents, just gorgeous Bible altogether, really nice large font. And then when you get into the poetic settings, I love the paragraph format, but when you get into the poetic settings, it's kind of center justified. Not exactly, but it's enough for me to where it does mask that ghosting. Really good, thick 36 GSM paper. And of course, when you get to the New Testament, the words of Christ are going to be in black. I don't dislike red letters. It's just really hard to get them consistent. So I really appreciate when they're in black letter, or like Thomas Nelson does when they're in blue. Also, Humble Lamb offers blue letters. The reason I put this one in a separate category is because they do fit the bill. They do produce their own translation, that is Steadfast, the LSB. They also have multiple different layouts of the translation they steward, but the issue is I wouldn't consider it major. Their translation is not in the top 10, but the LSB is very nice. They have some very nice additions. I like the 2-column verse by verse simply because it's so not only well laid out, it gives you that nice large print, and then there are no notes and no references. It's just simple text in a verse-by-verse format. Whenever there's a paragraph, it lets you know by bolding that verse number. And it's just really a nice layout. And this was rebound by Logos, by the way. And I forgot to honor a couple other rebinders. Let's go back. This one is Lion and Lamb. And then this one is Reformed and Rebound. Does a great, great work. And then this one is Redbird Bible. So all of these are excellent. So now let's move into some honorable mentions because they do steward their own translation, but they only have one option, and that is Bible Hub. Bible Hub does the BSB. I had this one rebound by Birdbound, and pretty nice layout. I would prefer a better font, but it does have a lot of nice bells and whistles. First of all, their note system is second to no one. They utilize the Septuagint, the Dead Sea Scrolls. They utilize the Textus Receptus and the majority text, and even the Samaritan Pentateuch. This has the most robust note system right along with the New King James. So for that, they definitely get an honorable mention. I would like to see them come up with a little bit better of a font. This is the Cambria font, and it's a nice large print, but ultimately, they only do this layout, so it's hard to say this is my favorite when it's the only option. Also with the NJV, the New Jerusalem Version, not to be confused with the New Jerusalem Bible, this is by no means a major translation, but I will say this. They had it printed and bound by Royal Youngblood. Beautiful layout, nice paragraph format, nice large font, just really great. Thought I'd show this one off. And then I figured no video would be complete without my favorite King James Version. King James in the United States is in the public domain, and my favorite King James is put out by none other than Thomas Nelson, and it's the same layout as the NKJV Maclaren. Nice large font, notes and references on the bottom. The only minor issue I have with this one is the words of Christ are in red, but I'll say this, they're well done. So those are my favorite text blocks from every major publisher, plus a few extras just to show you since I have them. What are your favorites? God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholas Worth.